Welcome to Journey to Service. I'm William Laddick, and with us again today, Randall Kaiser, mayoralty candidate of the city of Calgary. Randall, how are you? And welcome back to the show.
Wonderful, William. Pretty amazing week here in Calgary. We got lots to chat about, so start us off.
All right, I will. Well, I'm going to start off with the usual question. How has this week been going as far as anything related to the mayoralty race and to your application for mayor? Have you signed up as mayor yet? Inquiring minds want to know.
Not quite, but it's getting closer every week, brother. We got till the 15th of September to officially get in there. And you know,
Ooh, 1 month exactly. 1 month exactly.
Ah, yes. But you know, the race is already going. I'm watching it, you know, and I haven't been participating much, but then I had a manifestation. But don't get me wrong, when we're manifesting, we're co-manifesting too. So I manifest you into my reality, you manifest me into yours. So this fellow walks into our yard, okay, a very interesting yard, to say the least. He has this thing on his face, and his friend has this thing on his face, okay? And the one fella is running for councillor in our city, okay, in this ward. Isn't it? I always find it interesting how cities are divided up into wards for the inmates, you know, or the nut bags that we are. Is that what they mean by that? I don't know. Like, should we be on institutional wards, like in institutional wards, because we're too stupid and like crazy to, you know, figure things out? I don't think so. But anyway, sorry, little distraction there, buddy. But anyway, this ward 8 or 9, I can't remember where we're in. Councillor walks into our yard with this thing on his face, and he's starting to promote. So I heard him out the window, and I thought, I can't just sit in here. I got to go out and talk a little bit. So I went out the door, and first thing I said is, are you okay? And he says, well, of course. What do you mean? And I said, well, are you sick? Like, why do you have that thing on your face? And he says, well, I'm trying to keep you safe. I said, safe from what? If you're sick, get the hell home and go eat some chicken noodle soup, you know, or drink lots of water, or do a fast or something. Are you sick? Oh, you know what's going on here. And I said, well, okay, if you want to talk about that, but I don't like to talk about that stuff. And then his buddy, the younger guy, he was kind of a smart ass. He starts poking a little bit at me, and I thought, okay, we're going to engage now. So one of the other fellows in our ward, you know, on our floor in our ward over here at the nut house, you know, who doesn't understand anything what's going on, you know, otherwise we'd be doing this, you know, if we understood the situation. So our crazy ward over here, this other guy comes in, and he's jumping on him a little bit, and I'm like, okay, not quite so hard, you know, like we can do this with intelligence or wisdom or whatever words you want to use, but no mocking, okay? You can't mock them. And I'm going over in my mind, don't mock, don't mock, don't mock. So first thing I tried to do was see if he knew anything about the world of banking. So I introduced the idea of credit manifestation, and he didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So I thought, well, that's not really going anywhere. So I said, well, you know, the other guy said something about one of those isms, you know, like that commune thing. And he actually pointed at the guy saying, you people with your master, you know, this ism guys. And I said, well, really, I'm not either. Like, if anything, I'm a conscientious socialist and a conscientious capitalist all balled into one. Okay, so that's how I presented myself to this guy. I said, what about you? He says, well, I think along those lines. He said, I'm more of an urbanitism, or he had some new word that he created. And I thought, well, that sounds okay. And then he said, you know, I've been counselor in this ward, looking after the nut cases. He didn't say that. Looking after the new loony. I mean, he didn't say that. He said, I'm the counselor in this ward. I'll stop there. And for 11 years now. And I think I've done a good job. And I said, well, sure you have. But I said, the only thing I'm thinking is that you've got kind of hoodwinked this last little year and a half here. So that's what I'm trying to ask you. And then the young guy pipes up again. And this was after about 10 minutes of walking down the street with him. And the young guy pipes up again. He says, you're one of those typical conspiracy theorists. Like, look at it, it's all written all over you. Like, I had my hat on. I had only a t-shirt on that day. So maybe t-shirt signifies conspiracy theorist. I don't know where he got that from, but he started him. You're a typical conspiracy theorist. I said, well, you know that conspire means breathe together. And then if you bring the whole word in conspiracy, it's kind of to plot. So we could, if you remove the thing so that you could breathe properly, if you remove that, then we could conspire together, breathe together to bring in a new world. What do you think of that? I wear this because it's my choice. I believe in free choice. I said, okay, that's fine. I get what you're saying there too. But I said, do you agree that forcing children in the schools to wear those things on their faces is free choice? And he says, well, you got me there. And I said, I got you there? That's all you can respond to with that is I got you there? I said, I don't know if I want to keep going with this. I said, and they started to walk further and further away. So I said, listen, guys, I love you. I love your children. I love all the city of Calgary children. I want them to be free. I think, you know, as long as we got that straight, we're all good. And they waved back, and they didn't even wave like this. They just waved like this, you know. It was actually kind of nice ending. So that's the best way I can present that story for now.
But it didn't end there though, did it? I was talking with you yesterday or communicating at least through Telegram. And you were saying that you bumped into him again, didn't you?
Oh, that's the weird part. Like William and I have had this, I know for me, it's been running into my DNA. Okay. That's the way I look at it. And I talk about it. So your divine natural activation sometimes surprises the shit out of you, doesn't it, William? Like you found that this week. I found that this week. It's like, where the fuck did that come from? You know, like, you know, so divinely speaking of using the F word, I'm sorry, you know, that may sound ironic or, you know, blasphemic or something like that, but where the heck did that come from? Okay. That's where the divine natural activation happens. So yes, yesterday I'm walking down the street and I see this flyer stuck to the door handle of a house that's nobody lives there, or it's a little store that's sold. He just stuck it on there, and I recognized it. So it was this same counselor for our ward, right? So I picked it up and I was going to see, like he said something about having a dinner and, you know, we could all get together and stuff like that. So I thought maybe the date would be on there or something. So I picked it up and I was carrying it along. I thought, well, no use leaving it on the door. Nobody's there anyway. So I'll just throw it in the garbage when I'm done reading it. I'm carrying it in my hand. I look up on the street I'm walking down and I'm quite a ways from my house already. Okay. And there's a lady in her yard, a little child, and another lady standing on the street having a chat. I'm getting closer and closer and closer to them. And then a man comes out the door of this house, a very nice house, a fill-in, as they call them, in our neighborhood, which is mostly 80 to 100-year-old homes. But wherever there's a nice lot, they put in a really quite nice fill-in home, right? So this beautiful, fairly new fill-in home, you know, excess of $1 million home, guaranteed. Out he walks out onto the step, sits down on the step. As I walk up, it's him. It's the same guy as yesterday. And at first thought I could chat with him again, but his wife was there and his child, I'm assuming it was his child, and this other lady. And I thought, don't you dare, Randall, you know, don't you dare get into any more situation here. He walked into your yard and invited it. I'm not going to walk into his yard and invite it. So all I said was, oh, hey, buddy, you're still at it, are you? And he goes, yeah, I'm still at it. And he smiled and I smiled and I give him a little fist pump like that. And he fist pumped me back and I just kept rolling. But isn't that weird?
You'd never seen that man prior to him walking into your yard earlier this week. correct?
Never. Didn't even know what he looked like. I've heard the name, the last name. I'll, keep it out of the thing for now, because I don't want to embarrass anybody or, seem as if I'm mocking anybody, but the ward counselor in this area, I've never seen him before. Heard the name, like I said, when I recognized that, had no clue whatsoever where he lived. And I walked right to his house. That to me is like DNA.
Is it anywhere close to where you live, or were you a fair distance away from where you call home right now?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that, William. What did you say?
Where you ended up seeing him the second time, were you close to home, or were you kind of a fair distance away?
I'd say like it's maybe 4 or 5 blocks, something like that. Not too far from home, which, surprised me too. It's a very big ward. There's a lot of nuts in our ward. So I can't stop. I'm sorry, I'll stop.
Yeah, you restrain as best you can, but every once in a while, something there slips out a little bit. We'd talk about the mayorship here a little bit to start off the show. So I wanted to read a little excerpt from the book as well. This is from the second chapter about Mayor Randall. And I'm just going to read it and then allow you to comment on it. But I don't know, I've been feeling in kind of a low ebb kind of mood today. And I just kind of stumbled on this today as I was looking through the book again. And I was kind of touched by it, actually. I thought it was really very touching. So I won't say more than that, except to read what I see here. So here goes. It was just another day outdoors on my daily walk and meeting with general public. And once again, I was standing on the peak of Nose Hill Park. And as I looked around at that 360-degree gorgeous view, I felt a deep sense of pride, not just with the magnificent scenery or the location itself, but because of the people in the city. The moment filled me with such a mix of emotions, and it was not that I personally had achieved anything in particular or possessed something in the city, but the people did achieve and possess something. All of them, each and every one of them. I knew that so many of these wonderful human beings did not realize their greatness in this world. There is no thing or nothing without the people. It's the people who created and designed the architecture. It's the people who built the structures and buildings. It's the people who bring the theaters alive with exuberance. It's the people who bring fun and joy into the parks. It's the people who walk the streets. It's the people who purchase from the shops. It's the people who spend their money. It's the people who bring the books in the library, who bring to life the books in the library. It's the people who live for another day in hope for a better and easier life. It's the people who keep all of the corporations, organizations, businesses, and banks going. You are the people. The government or system never did this. You did. You are the creators of your world that you live in. And I have just a little bit more here that I wanted to wrap it up. But what I do believe in is that the people should know how important they are. The people, that's you, need to be congratulated. If you create something, then the credit is yours. Interesting choice of words there, by the way. Credit is yours. You are not indebted to anything or anyone from your creation. The creation is you. You are the people bringing everything alive and awakening your towns, cities, villages, regions, areas, counties, provinces, and countries, which have the ripple effect touching every area of the whole world. How amazing is that? You impact the whole world. That was I found it very touching. I thought it was a beautiful little piece in the book. And it was all leading up to, why you decided to jump in and be mayor. What rings through to your mind as you hear all that again, another time being sort of read back to you?
Well, first thing that comes into my mind, because we were just talking about it, is recognizing that counselor for who he is, a people, as Justin Trudeau would say. Didn't he say, can't talk about men, women, it's got to be the people. He got it so mixed up. It's not like Justin, we the people. I'm trying not to mock him either, okay, but I'm not very good at that. When it comes to politicians and people that want to direct us within a system that's completely out of control, like the one that we're experiencing for the last year and a half, I have very little sympathy and compassion for those politicians and media people that are trying to feed us a bunch of bullshit, okay? So, however, the people, the majority, the vast majority, 99.99% of the people on this earth deserve compassion, deserve love, deserve the credit, like you say, for what we've created, okay? What we've created in a benevolent fashion. And we've created a lot. Beautiful homes. The city of Calgary, if you look from where I was talking about on Nose Hill and look down at the city of Calgary, there's places where the houses are, or the communities are 40 or 50 years old. You cannot see the houses from there. All you see is trees. So from that perspective, right? So 100 years ago, that was a very, very barren plain. Like there was just grass there, you know, there was trees along the river valley, but not up on those areas where these houses are now. So that beautiful heavenly space now that has flowers and rabbits and squirrels and, you know, butterflies and everything else was created by the people. So they deserve the credit for that. And it's their city. You know, there's no such thing as ownership. It's just theirs. They deserve it. And they deserve the credit for it. Instead of the idea that, you know, governments are the ones that are giving money back to the people and all that bullshit. You know, like our system was set up where the creditor is the human being with his autograph and agreement. And they're never going to tell you the truth about that. So people like us have to tell the truth and, you know, risk being banned and censored on freaking YouTube, which I got again this week. Like I'm back on my main channel, my own Randall Kaiser TV, banned again for telling that little story about that counselor, you know, and that was against medical WHO protocol. Are you kidding me? Like, so they censored me for that? I did two notes back to YouTube on that. I'm going to mention it here because there's no problem with this. The first one, I said, you know, I challenged the fact that you've done this. Like I didn't break any medical rules. There was nothing like that in what my video was. So please, you know, reinstate my channel. And they got back to me and they said, no, we looked at it again and it's not. But then they had another comment section. And in the next comment section, I said, you know, it's really too bad that YouTube has gotten to this point of censorship, which is all it is, and that you're willing to take the karma, which means the potential of your, I'm not threatening anything, I'm just saying, you know, like the potential of YouTube disappearing. For what? For something that you have no control over either, something that you're just following the rules of a non-elected organization called the WHO. I mean, that's insanity to me, but it's your choice. So I'm still banned, but only for 2 weeks. And I have another channel. Wink, wink.
Good. Well, that's good. We know that you're still around, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta fight that system a little bit, you know, even if it's even though you kind of, like you said, you didn't really think you broke any of their guidelines or whatever. And yeah, it just seemed like an odd situation. Anyway, I want to shift the topic a little bit to some of the things that we were talking about last week. It was an interesting week last week. You had been speaking to some people on the telephone, and you were sharing about the Santa Maria and how we're transitioning into some very new and unique things. Do you have any further progress reports or anything you can update us in that area?
Well, William, my stories are out there for most people. And the story is truly in here, and I'm saying it's coming from me, but it's coming from the in here of the other people I'm talking to that I believe in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we've seen progress. And the progress for me was just reassurance that everything is perfect, moving toward complete, which is the way that God created this heavenly plane of existence, universe, whatever you want to call it, where we live. It was created that way, perfect, moving towards completion, always evolutionary, always, getting better. And that to see that happening in the, I'll call it political realms, okay? Because most people will understand that. They think in terms of politics, and we're heading into another election here in Canada. They're announced that today, I think, that they're going to have another vote. So that's going to take the attention of people, because it's political, and it gives people a chance to think that they're going to figure out what's the best route ahead. So what we're offering, or in that divine or dynastic order of Santa Maria, is the thought that we're trying to say to people, if you're going to think in terms of any kind of politics, move yourself into a divine space. Move yourself into a space of thinking what's good for everyone and everything every day. Okay, so if it's the politics of the United States, which obviously Sleepy Joe just went completely kaput compared to where America was prior to him coming in January, was that good for everyone and everything every day? Pretty much not. I don't think there's one good thing about what Joe Biden's done. So are we prepared to just put this young fellow that hasn't done anything good for Canada back into his position again too? Or would you like to think about what's good for everyone and everything every day? By God, folks, if I had the opportunity, and Canada was not a party, when it comes to politics, and it is just a big party for those goofballs to go in there and try to pretend that they know what's going on when they don't tell you the truth about simple things like credit versus the illusion of debt. And they play along with this other game that's been going on for a year and a half. And both sides of it are still arguing over stuff like that. There's, it's just insanity. So like I said, if there was an opportunity for a man like myself to run for the leader of this nation, I'd be there. But it's just a party thing, so there's no way to get into that. That's why I chose the mayoralty race, because there is a sovereign position, or a one person, one human, woman or man, can be the mayor of this city with enough votes, hoping that Dominion doesn't get a crack at the voting machines. Wink, wink.
So they didn't invite you to the party? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much.
Geez. But somehow I have a feeling you didn't want to go into this party anyway.
No, and we're not going to need it, because I'm so confident in this North American, and in fact, many nation union that's coming under the divine order of Santa Maria, or dynastic order of Santa Maria, which includes Uncle Donald down there in the US.
Say what now? Say what now? Uncle Donald? What's going on with Uncle Donald? What's happening?
Well, besides being full of shit where his money came from, which I tell people all the time, and then they lash out at me for that, like, what do you mean? He's a real estate tycoon. Yeah, but you don't really understand how the credit system works, and how credit doesn't include debt when you get into that old boys club where Donald is,
But they don't ban you for that. They don't ban you for that.
Oh God, no.
You can say that.
But the thing with Uncle Donald is that, you know, these dynastic families include connections to these high level politicians who are mostly chosen for their positions, right?
Yes.
So chosen and selected for their positions, and then they have like a little election process where they pretend there's a battle going on and everything. But ever since JFK was in power, there has been nothing but a chosen political leader in the US. And the same thing here. I mean, it's just, that's why they have the party thing going on, because they're just, they know it's just a party. They can just go in there and have their, oh, rah, 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 and we won, and all those party things that they do, have a little celebration. But everybody knows, doesn't matter which one of the leaders gets in, he's going to take his orders from the New World Ordered government anyway. But that's all passing away as we replace it with this divine order, okay? Or reinstitute the divine order. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering a little if you have any more details on news within the divine order. What kinds of things are we going to see that maybe you didn't mention last week?
Well, you know, it does include the monetary system, because these divine or dynastic, I'll call them dynastic families. I'm not going to say they're all divine. Dynastic families. So these aristocrats. That's another word that I came up with this week, because elite is getting kind of old. So let's bring in a new word. It's all about words anyway, remember? So bring in a new word, and that is aristocrats, okay? So these aristocrats who sit on and hold or keep funds for humanity that are magnanimous, like they're huge, you know? They're all part of this process, wanting to, for many, many decades now, bring in a little bit more, you know, a little bit more to humanity, to look after the comfort of every human being, to build conscious projects around the world. However, the New World Ordered governments and the New World Order itself from the 1940s or previous to that, don't get me wrong, but it was all rebooted at Bretton Woods. That order directed things toward the globalist agenda. Globalist being a key word, right? You know, just, okay, we can bring in stuff from China because we can get cheap labor over there into the United States. We can do this here, do that there. It's all a global agenda, right? Around this spinning ball theory. Excuse me, I had to throw that in there. You knew I would. So anyway, the idea of that is shifting, okay? And it's been shifting for a long time, well before Trumpy got in. I was told by the people that I speak with in that, just relax, we'll help you with your mayoralty campaign, okay? Which is coming and it's going to happen. And I've said that for a long time too. So there's no new news there. The other new news to me was, believe it or not, we helped Trump and we're continuing to help Trump. So that was direct communication from the people in the divine order, dynastic order of Santa Maria.
Now, you speak cryptically, my good man. How did you help Mr. Donald? Can you be more specific, or is that top secret?
How did they help him?
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, in a monetary sense, but also just think of the word divinity, okay? So Donald Trump went into office, and as most of us know, anybody that paid any attention to him, he prayed every morning in the Oval Office. You know, they brought that into the Oval Office again. They talked about God and had a prayer. Which other president's been doing that? Does the Sleepy Joe do that, or is he still in bed when everybody else has said their prayers?
Who knows? Getting a little parched. It's warm in Calgary tonight.
Yeah, oh man, it's still, and smoke like in the air. It's just crazy. But it's the last day. We're calling for rain tomorrow. So
Yeah, here too. So I guess it'll be a welcome change in the weather pattern in Western Canada by the looks of it.
Yeah. So
Uh,
yeah, for now, that's there's not a lot more to report on that front other than the monetary side, which is, I'm going to drop the word US note because a lot of people have talked about it as a US note instead of a US dollar. But there's nothing wrong with the word dollar. It's the backing of that dollar that's going to change. And this dynastic order is going to bring back these accounts that are held off ledger, on ledger. And one of those projects, as I said last week, is to fund a new US dollar. Okay. And in fact, some of the language that came out this week in some of our communications was a continental dollar, which I thought was really cool. Okay. Because Canada's just lost anyway. We got nothing here but some kind of a military outpost for some fake queen. So that doesn't work. We got a corporate government under a little puppet that is, going to have another election, like whatever. That's all just a waste of time and a waste of energy to me. But, feel free to do what you wish in that looniverse, legal jurisdiction looniverse. But that being said, when this dynastic order comes in and this switch happens, this is a continent. So this continent will have a new dollar. Heard it here for the first time, folks.
well, yeah, that is intriguing. My mind went to the when it comes in part. I was thinking, how is it going to come in? Do you have any thoughts on that, or any intel on that, or any inklings? Or I know that you're very much in the moment kind of guy, but was there any conversation as to what kind of changes or integration we might see, and how the Santa Maria movement will come into reality?
Well, let's stick with the dollar for a second, because I think you were going there a little bit with that question as far as how that dollar is going to roll out. And we know that the US dollar right now is the international world currency. Like it is, it's the leading currency of the world. And it's all digits, not all digits. There's a little bit that goes out in paper, fiat cash, but the rest of it is all digits anyway. So when you say US dollar, it's just digits, right? So the rollout will just be that now that dollar is actually backed by assets rather than the old method of just autographs and agreements that we've been using, since 1951, 50 years to the day today. Don't forget that, that we've been using that silly autograph and agreement thing over anything that's backed by assets. But today's 50-year anniversary, today, the day. So now to the second part of your question, which you didn't really divide up, but I did. But the second part being the dynastic order rollout, that I honestly can't predict. It's going to be slow. It's going to be one step at a time. And the biggest step that we're going to see next is Donald Trump coming back into office and Joe Biden either being, oh, he got sick. Oh, we were right. He did have a brain thing going on. And it exploded in his brain and now he's in the hospital. Like they'll tell some stupid story like that, because obviously, like when you watch him on television, anybody that thinks that man has got, a full deck of cards going on anymore. I mean, and is it because his pineal gland is blocked off and the heavy metals have taken over? I don't know, but obviously the man's got a few screws loose. So, is he going to go into the hospital? But it'll be a special hospital. It won't be a ward. But anyway, the long and short of that is that Donald will be back, and then there'll be the heroes welcome, and then this whole word will change to what I'm predicting, and I've came up with this week, okay? Conscious observation validating individual divinity. See, COVID. Conscious
Go ahead.
observation validating or verifying individual divinity. So we're going to shift that whole story into a positive, okay, from a poisonous thought that entered our minds, and then everyone wanted to just cough that poison out, and they thought they had a cold, but they were just coughing out the poison of that manifested word in their brains, okay? Is that mocking?
Well, borderline. but just with Sleepy Joe a little bit. I mean, I know you can't help yourself. So, but no, I'm thinking, no, it's a lovely sentiment as far as, what that word would stand for going forward in a much more divine light, I'll put it. You might want to even change the number from 19 to 21 since it's, brand new year, and might be kind of a nice fix. And that 21, I think, would also counteract that other thing that ends with a 21 that apparently is some sort of an agenda or whatever going on in the world. But, whatever that was, it's just a passing thing, I'm sure. So
good one, brother. That's co-creation. I like that.
Yeah, I thought you might, turn a double negative into a double positive or something,
Thank you.
And there are no false positives here, folks. This is the real deal right here. We're not talking any false positives. No PCR here. Just, real deal.
You're stepping out on a limb now, brother.
Yeah, I gotta be careful. I'll bring us back in a little bit. It's back to the money thing a little bit. It occurred to me that when, like, for the earlier on in our conversations between yourself and myself on these shows, you were kind of, you weren't super excited about, having the gold backed or the asset backed currency. You kind of like the fact that, you, in some way, and this is the question I want to ask you, is there anything really wrong with fiat money technically in your eyes?
That's a good one, William, because I've wrestled with that, and I still converse with some of the people in the banking industry and at these levels of leadership. I don't want to use the word government. When I talk about that, I think in terms of how we certainly had the potential, to not use the assets and just use the credit and the creditor. But you'd have to tell the truth of who the creditor is, which is something that would destroy history, because this history has been built on that lie that, this autograph and agreement is the debtor. It's not, it's the creditor. But if we would have went back and done that, or if we could do that now, I still think that would be a good idea, especially for public funding, okay? Especially for public funding, because public funding is going to take a lot. As we've said, if we go to $3,000 or $5,000 a month comfort income times 30 million people in Canada or 300 million people in the US, that's a lot of dollars and a lot of digits in the digital side of this ledger, right?
Yep.
So, like you say, I mean, if someone wants to step up, they're Mr. Rothschild, Mr. Bilderberg, Mr. Rockefeller, Mr. Lehman Brothers, Mr. Brown, Mr. Warburg. Let's name off all the 13 banking families while we're at it. Any one of you listening to my show here, any one of you wants to discuss this and talk about recognizing that the birth certificate now has been switched to a sovereignty certificate, knowing that sovereign is the creditor of public money, asking that sovereign and all the rest of the sovereigns of a nation what would you like us to do? Would you think it would be good to give every human being their comfort through a medium of exchange that we're manifesting based on your credit and your autograph? You see, I'm open. So there you are. The invitation is out to you, Mr. Rothschild.
That's a pretty big invitation. That's that's breaking tradition. It's the old saying, it's hard for a leopard to change its spots. So that would be a big ask there, Randall. I'm not sure if we would see that or not. But what I love about your perspective is that you approach it from a place of love, almost like, I won't say forgiveness, because that's maybe putting words in your mouth, but it kind of feels like it feels like a compassionate place. Most people will often say that, some of those names you just mentioned are evil names, are names of greedy people who never cared for humanity and that whole thing. And maybe that's just another story. I don't know. But I love the fact that you open the door. You give them an opportunity to make a shift if they want. So good on you. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, a little bit, William, because we were just talking earlier about that quote from the book and the beauty of this city. And this city was built during that time of the debtor and creditor, period. So in spite of the fact that it was a lie, in spite of the fact that it was a complete, utter, insane lie that they were the debtors, the people still were able to do what they did. That's why I love the people so much, because in spite of being slaves to this debt system, which is completely insane, they still built a beautiful city. The people did that, okay? Mm-hmm. A few creditors downtown, these big developers and stuff that never pay anything back, that built those towers. And then some of the city developers are in that same boat. But even those, they still, when they build a residential development, they're putting in parks, they're putting in trees. There's consciousness in everybody, okay? You just got to dig a little deeper in some of them, But the love and the respect for nature and for other people is there. We've got it in us, and the people of this city have shown that. And I want to just, express that even more, show them even more how we can even do more now that we realize that debt is a complete, utter illusion, and that those people that held you back in that area are no longer. Now, what would you like to create? What would you like to create in this city next? There's so many more things we can do.
Do you have some ideas of things that you'd like to see?
I want to see that transportation thing, that green line. I don't think there's any problem with that. And that, any coming back at me with talk about taxes and overriding budgets and stuff, that's just going to bounce off me. I'm not going to get into that discussion with anybody, because that is loony versus legal jurisdiction, debt versus credit conversation, which 99% of politicians fall into like that in a heartbeat, and start talking about it from a capitalist or socialist, mentality.
Well, you bring up something interesting. It just occurred to me that, we are getting a lot closer to the election day now. It's only a couple of months away. And, it occurred to me that, if the transition takes even more time than it has already, because we thought, maybe by the end of this month that things would already be shifting, and things are shifting, but just at a different pace, and it's on its own time frame. That you may end up, as a mayor, you may end up with a council that still has some of that old mentality. So I could very much see that part of your job will be, if the councilors are open to it, a bit of a re-education as to what money is, what debt is, what credit is, and what budget is or is not, and how the whole system can work in a very different, unique, productive, nurturing, growing way. I don't know, do you have any sense of that at all yourself, or have you probably haven't thought too much about what it would be like once you're officially in office? I know you're in office now, but I mean officially when you're voted in and everything, with counselors and things like that. Any thoughts about what that might look like for you and the counselors?
If you want to use the word educating the counselors, I think there's going to be a lot of shock therapy for them in the next 2 months anyway. Like they're going to get educated by the fact that Donald Trump is back in, or at the very least, the whole American political scene is falling apart. I can't predict the date when he's going to come back, but he's coming back. There's no doubt about that. So it's all interesting. And I'm just, in that state of just saying, I accept whatever happens here, because I think that, I'm going to be there for them no matter what, because I was there ahead, learning about this stuff and being involved in it at the levels that I'm talking about. I will be able to help them. I don't want to say that I'll educate them. They're going to have to educate themselves, and learn more things, because the mainstream media and their own education and indoctrination into the positions they're in at this stage in their lives is going to be a big challenge for them on an individual level.
All right, just at the end of the show, we're starting to run into some technical problems, but we got most of it put together, I think. And so at this point, I think we'll carry on some of this conversation. There was some interesting stuff happening there. We'll carry it on next week. And Randall, I think at this point, it's just a good idea to probably wrap it up before our phones blow up.
Perfect, William. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think, I don't know, it's the heat in the house here or what, but my phone, to touch it, is just hot. So with peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything every day on our minds, me and William saying we'll see you next week, folks. And abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria. Love you, William. Check it up. Catch you guys later.
Catch you later.